So normally we talk about the Winnebago, the Travato, van life, the RV lifestyle. Today, not talking about any of that. So if you tuned in for that, skip this video. However, if you're curious about the Ram vehicle itself, my experiences with the dealers, warranty, and out-of-pocket expenses, stay tuned. Tuning in today, really appreciate that. My name is Scott. I am your host. Welcome to Go Small, Van, Live Large, Experience the World from an RV. That's what this channel is all about. The learnings that I get from the road and from you, and then I share them back out to you in near real time here on YouTube and on my website, Go Small, Live Large, and on Instagram. If you haven't been there, look me up. You get daily posts. This video is being recorded early in April of 2020. We're in the midst of the coronavirus COVID-19 situation, on lockdown like many of folks, getting a little stir crazy, but it's allowing me to catch up on some really good content for you. Today I wanted to share about my experiences around the van in particular. So if you're into that at all, stick around. We're going to go through out-of-pocket costs, warranty costs, and my overall experience with the van from a chassis standpoint. Might be wondering, what in the heck is this all about? Well, back in 2018, really reinvented my life, our lives, my partner Kyle and I, and we left Chicago. I reinvented my job. I got rid of the corporate cube and bought an RV, and home base is in Florida, where I currently am, but the mission was to hit the road full-time and live and work out of this van, which I succeeded in doing. First 5 months were part-time, and then in February 2019 went full-time in this rig and have been ever since. So again, just thank you for being along for the ride today. So let's get into it about the Ram Promaster chassis. Well, let's go. Yeah, so if you're not familiar with the Ram Promaster, it's a Dodge. They've kind of rebranded to Ram. My chassis is a 2018 Ram Promaster 3500. It's 21 foot long, 7 feet wide, 10 feet tall, and that includes some of the Winnebago RV build out on top. It is a 6-cylinder gasoline engine. I'm reading from my iPad to get this stuff straight, guys, so bear with me. It is the 6-cylinder gasoline engine. It produces 280 horsepower. It is a 3.6 liter engine. It is front wheel drive. It has a 6-speed transmission, and the ground clearance is about 6 to 7 inches, depending on a couple of items. I've had sumo springs, so that added an inch, so that's why I get 7. But I think out of the gate with the RV build out, the clearance is about 6 inches. I'm really pleased about the overall performance of the van. I chose gasoline specifically, so that eliminated the Sprinter, because I did not want to deal with Mercedes issues. I didn't want to deal with diesel issues, and I didn't want to deal with not being able to service the rig nearly anywhere, which I am with this rig. So let's talk about the warranty. So the Winnebago build-out has a 12-month, 15,000-mile warranty. I exhausted that pretty fast in the first few months of being in the rig full-time. The Ram, however, has a pretty generous warranty on the entire vehicle itself. Chassis wise, it's a 3-year 36,000-mile basic warranty, as they call it, and it really covers a lot. Then what I'm on currently, as my 36,000-mile meter ran out, I'm now on the 5-year 60,000-mile powertrain warranty. And looking here at the warranty, you can see that there is actually an 8-year, 80,000-mile emissions warranty for catalytic converters and a couple of elements associated with that system specifically. Federally mandated. We kind of like those. So what I want to do is kind of walk through the problems that I've had with the chassis and the remedies that I have had to apply and the costs associated with that. Let's get into that now. For those of you watching my channel for a while, you might remember that I mentioned a wobble in the van when I'm hitting about 38 miles per hour. That condition appeared at about 6,000 miles. It originates in the rear, and I know that because of the 2 dealers I took it to trying to figure out what the heck the problem was. This is when I was, by the way, running OEM tires. The tires on the Travato are Nexen brand. I originally thought they were Chinese. I mentioned that in another video. I was incorrect. Nexen brand, as I Google them, are a South Korea tire manufacturer. Nonetheless, they're not really hefty, American made, so whatever. But anyway, at that time I was running the OEM tires that came with the Travato and the wheels. So about 6,000 miles, I felt this weird wobble. I took it to a couple of Florida dealers, and they asked me if I could feel the wobble in the steering wheel, or did I feel it more in the seat, like with my butt. And I can definitely feel it from the seat way more than the steering wheel itself. The steering wheel doesn't wobble, but the seat did. They said that the wobble then originates in the rear of the vehicle, not in the front. Okay, but what's causing it? They both blamed the weight, the build out, as almost an overload capacity on the tires, causing that system to wobble. I don't think Winnebago would outfit a rig that can't carry the weight of the vehicle, so I kind of dismissed it and just kept moving. It wasn't bad enough. It ran from 38 miles to about 42 miles an hour, and then it dissipated before that, and then after that length of speed. So bottom line is I didn't really do anything about it. I just kind of learned to live with it. And then in July of 2019, at about 15,000 miles, I replaced the OEM Promaster wheels and the South Korean tires with custom wheels and the BF Goodrich tires, the all-terrain tires that come on the Revel and the National Park Foundation Travato. And so I knew those, and I did not change the size of the wheel nor the size of the tire, so I knew that was a solid upgrade that didn't affect the performance of the vehicle. And though it did seem to minimize it slightly, there still was this wobble. I've just learned to kind of live with it. That would drive a lot of you crazy. I would rather be out RVing than trying to fix a problem that everybody, now that I have non-OEM tires on it, would simply dismiss it as, you know, you change the tires and stuff, so whatever it's going to be. Probably you will disagree with me, but that's the way I roll sometimes. So I just learned to live with it. It's not severe. It still remains to this day. So that's the tire wobble situation. Now, that said, I actually took it to the dealer here in Florida in the end of January 2019, before I hit the road full time. And I complained about the wobble. That's why I was actually going to the dealer. And what happened is, on the way to the dealership, I lost heat. It was a cold Florida morning, and I was like, where in the hell is the heat coming out of the dash? Was getting no heat. So I added that to the list for them to check out. And that was a serious problem. What had happened is, the clamp that held the radiator hose away from the second alternator, which the Volta system uses to generate electricity into the energy pack, had come loose, and the alternator band, the second alternator belt, was rubbing into the radiator hose. And it caused the radiator to lose its coolant. Now, fortunately, I was just a couple miles from the dealer when I discovered the heat problem, so this was not catastrophic, but could have been very bad. So if we look at the Schumacher dealer in Delray, Florida, Delray Beach, you can see here that I complained about the cooling system, and they verified that that was indeed a failure of the clamp from a modification Winnebago made. So you can see here that got an oil change, and it was $400 to get the coolant hose situation repaired. They consider this not a warranty item because it was a modification by Winnebago, so I had to pay out of pocket $400. But I did turn this into Winnebago, my dealer, to get that covered under warranty, which Winnebago did. And the last page here, you can see here I was complaining about the wobble, and you can see here that they're talking about excessive road force on the rear tires, you know, blaming again Winnebago, which didn't really do. So the first big dealer visit, end of January 2019, had 9,500 miles on it. Was complaining about the tire wobble, the radiator hose. It was $500 or so, of which $400 was covered by warranty. After I passed that through from my Winnebago dealer to Winnebago themselves, I got a check pretty fast, which I was impressed with. All right, in an attempt to, again, solve the wobble problem, I took the rig to a dealer in Spokane, Washington, when I was visiting my parents over the summer. And this was in early August 2019. The rig at that point had 25,000 miles on it. And they diagnosed the wobble as having a driver strut and a ball joint. It had more play than it should have. And they thought that that was the cause of the wobble. Okay, covered under warranty, so let's go ahead and make that happen. So they replaced the driver only side of the strut. And so this was Dishman Dodge in the Spokane area, and you can see here that I was complaining again about the vibration in the chassis, right? So what they found that there was a where they say right here. So they said they drove and found vibration under driving load, performed shakedown, found driver strut and ball joint have play internally. So they replaced the driver's side only, not the passenger side, which I asked them to do. They said that would not be covered under warranty because it was not a failing component, whereas over here it was. So not a big fan of replacing only one side, not the other, but that's the way it rolled on that time. So did an oil change, and so the total out of pocket there was 50 bucks for an oil change. I asked him what would that have been if that was not covered under warranty, and it was 6 hours, 130 bucks an hour, $500 for the parts. So thank you, $1,300 or so for warranty from that. Now, interestingly enough, maybe I was hallucinating. I thought for the first couple of days driving that the wobble was better. It wasn't. In fact, it was about the same. I was so hoping it would solve it, and it didn't change it. I might have gotten slightly better, but it was still definitely there. So while we got a couple of parts placed under warranty, nothing substantial impacted that. So thank you, Dishman, for nothing. All right, so now we go forward all the way to March of 2020, and the tire pressure system, and one of you, actually several of you, have asked about the tire pressure monitoring system after I put the BF Goodrich tires and non-OEM wheels on, and did that affect the system? I would say yes. Initially, I had to change the add tire air pressure into the system pretty regular for the first. They ran fine the first couple months, and then for a couple months they seemed to be losing air pretty regular, very inconsistently, and in very small amounts. I couldn't figure it out. It was really, really frustrating. And maybe this was a omen to what was to come. So again, in February of 2020, I started seeing the tire pressure system come on a lot, and then one time the tire pressure system, or the tire pressure monitoring light on the dashboard started to flash. And if you look at your manual into the flashing light sections, so if you look at your tire pressure monitoring system on the dashboard, it's this one right here. Yeah. Steady illumination just means that it is, the tires are underinflated as expected, but when it flashes, that's when it's a huge red light, well in this case orange, to check what that means and get it serviced. And what it means is the tire pressure system is not, as was explained to me from the code from the dealer, is that the tire pressure module cannot sense the tires. So we wanted to get that fixed. Obviously, running around without knowing the status of your tire pressure system, not smart. But in addition, the check engine light, which is this bad boy right here, we all know how we love to hate that completely useless bit of information. All it does is invoke fear, panic, and oh my God, right? So I took this to a dealer post-haste. I was sort of used to the tire pressure system, but this was new, and that really gave me some fits. I was driving from Arizona to Texas and into Alabama, and I was really concerned about that. It was a solid amber light. So again, reading this, that indicates it's just a system needs to be inspected and maybe dealt with, but not catastrophic. So in March 3 of 2020, I brought it into a Texarkana, Texas dealer. The unit at that point had 41,800 miles. I did a couple of things. I had the 40,000 mile service performed, which is largely changing the cabin air filter, the engine air filter. I had them rotate the tires. That was the first time. So it's from 15,000 miles when the new BF Goodrich's went on, all the way to 41,000 miles. They were in the same position. Had those rotated. And then I had them confirm the check engine light status, which I had checked briefly just to see what the heck was going on. And it was indicating that an oxygen sensor was not, that the gasoline mix was too rich going into the engine. They kind of gave it a thumb up to drive from Texarkana up into Alabama for the RV Entrepreneur Summit, which was probably, 800 miles away maybe. And then I was going to head into, up into the Midwest, up to the Chicagoland area until the COVID situation occurred. And then I had to pivot and went down to Florida. Nonetheless, so the service stopped there. Here, I'll show you that. So again, this is classic Chrysler Dodge Jeep in Texarkana, Texas. By the way, Texarkana, love you guys, but not missing a whole lot there, to be honest. Go to El Dorado, Arkansas instead. Unless you need to have your Ram service. So here's $400 basically for the 40,000 mile service. Again, what they performed was the cabin air filter, the engine air filter. I probably could have done those using Napa parts, but you know, I'm a white collar guy typing and talking for a living. So what do I know about stuff under the engine? So that's kind of the deal there. Change the oil, rotate the tires. Thanks guys. And that was really cool. So that was that stop. So with the COVID-19 pressure and lockdown really sinking in, I left Northeast Arkansas, the Lake Guntersville State Park, an amazing place where the RV Summit was to be held. It was kind of held virtually instead of in person. I headed south to Florida and then promptly made a service for our friends at Schumacher, who had been to before, to have the check engine light and the tire pressure system dealt with. So that was now April 3rd, 2020. The mileage was about 43,400 miles. The check engine light, they said the reason that was coming on, we knew because of the sensor was running too rich. The cause of that, they said, is that the rockers were not seating the valves sufficiently. So they replaced the rocker. And that caused a dirty engine because the air gas mix was not proper. And while the rocker repair was covered under warranty, the dirty engine cleanup, as they called it, and the tune-up, as they called it, replacing spark plugs, was not covered. So that bill was about $1,100. I was really not comfortable with what they kind of performed because it just seemed gimmicky to me. Certainly the dirty engine and the tune-up thing. Rockers, yeah, covered under warranty. I don't know how much that would have cost otherwise. But the dirty engine thing, I guess it sort of made sense, but I don't know. And then a tune-up, you know, who tunes up cars in the modern age these days? You know, replacing spark plugs, probably could have done it myself with Napa, but, you know, I just don't deal with that stuff. Let the pros deal with it. So nonetheless, it was $1,100 out of pocket for the check engine light to be resolved. The tire pressure module was $500 to have that replaced. It was about $150 in labor and about $300 and some dollars for the module. I was going to check and see if I had that covered somewhere else, so I opted not to have that performed on that visit. So they kept it for a few days, $1,100 later, and I don't have the receipt, so I don't know what I did with it. So I can't show you that for that service. But while they did keep it and they did do the work, the light was not on, the check engine light was not on when I drove away from the dealer. The tire pressure system was, because we didn't do anything about it. However, literally the next day, I went to go drive the van someplace, and the check engine light came back on. WTF. So, called, made an appointment, they got me in the next day, and here's the result of that. So what they did is, they thought they initially had not cleared the code, which they tried and they test drove it and it came back on. So what the bottom line is in addition to the rockers creating the situation of the gas air mixture not being correct, the sensors then were either goofed up or I don't know, they had to replace them, both of them. So they did two of them. One was replace the upstream O2 sensor, and then they, on the left side, and also on the left side, the downstream O2 sensor. So those two were covered under warranty, again, on the powertrain warranty situation. I did opt to have the tire pressure monitoring system replaced, so it was $276 for labor, $150 or so for the part itself. So now, while I haven't driven the van a ton since I got it back from Schumacher, I can tell you both the check engine light and the tire pressure monitoring system light has not come on. So I'm considering those resolved. So there we go on that. So you might be asking, what does all that total? And I'm glad you're asking. I'm reading off my iPad because the total is out of pocket $1,920. That is after 40,000 miles driving the rig, 1.5 years of ownership, 5 dealer stops in that amount of time. And warranty costs, I'm guessing the rockers is probably going to be fairly expensive. I'm guessing $2,000, maybe $2,500. The warranty on the other was $350 for the or $400 for the radiator hose, and about what was the Spokane one? Please hold. About $1,300 out of warranty, but out of pocket less than $2,000. And the brakes, are you ready for this? Every dealer I've stopped and had them look at the van, I've asked them about the brakes. They said the OEM brakes are still at about 50%. That's amazing. This is an 8,500 pound rig. I don't drag race in her, but Lily she's a big girl, right? And to have the OEM brakes still at about 50%, not needing any service, is amazing to me. So overall, I can't be more pleased with this van. It has performed admirably on every level. I have not been overly gentle, haven't been rough, haven't been all-terraining on it with her, but she's been my daily driver, living, working, sleeping, cooking, going potty, the full 9 yards, ladies and gentlemen, for over a year. And 4 months prior to that, really. And this van has just performed admirably. $2,000 out of pocket, that's a drop in the bucket. We just, if you think about your sticks and bricks house or your other types of cars, with that kind of mileage and that kind of wear and tear in a short amount of time, what's the repair bills for you? Are you surprised by these repair bills? I was, in the sense of they're so small. So I am just really pleased with the Ram chassis. Would I buy it again? In a minute. Have nothing I want to do with the Sprinter chassis. No offense to you Mercedes people. We've had Mercedes. I still have one in the garage right now. Lovely systems, but boy, they are expensive to maintain, and this rig is not. So with that, I thank you for watching. Please send your comments in below, send emails in. What's your experience with your RV, with your Ram vehicles? If you have a Ram truck, I would love to know. When I was in Texas, I'd say Ford was number 1, Ram was number 2, followed by a distant Chevy in terms of big trucks. And in Texas and in Florida and in Arizona, they run big trucks. Texas, dualies all over the place. I would just love to know what your experience with a Ram vehicle in particular is. So again, thank you for tuning in today. Really appreciate that. If you got something out of it, please give it a big old thumb up. If you didn't, give it a thumb down. That's okay. I'm a big boy. My skin is getting thicker these days. And if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. Be part of our success on this channel. By subscribing, it costs you no money. You get no spam emails from me. And only when you click the notification bell does YouTube send you an email saying, hey, Scott at Go Small Live Large has posted a new video, and then you can see the latest and greatest right away. Subscribing helps others find the channel and helps YouTube know that you like this, and it helps direct more people to this channel to get this kind of content. And as always, check out my website. My itinerary is posted there. We've got a bunch of conference calls coming up, both with me and with my paid partner, Embassy RV. If you're shopping for an RV, you'll want to check out Embassy RVs. They do RVs completely different. We have a Q&A coming up later. See me on Instagram, posting some fun stuff there. And until we see you again, I wish you to live happy, live free, live RV. See ya.